You're watching the Three and You Giant Fans podcast brought to you by Scott, Giant, Mike and Cardone. We're sponsored by Manscaped.com. Use code AGREYMAN to get a 20% discount and free shipping. And download our audio podcast at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts from.
So we dusted off the old college song that is the stand and cheer for the Panthers anthem. And you know what? We had to do it because the Panthers helped the Giants on Sunday. We couldn't help ourselves, but they beat Seattle, keeping us firmly entrenched right now in that last playoff spot, tied with the Redskins.
You and I have a different definition of firmly entrenched.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stand and cheer for the Panthers, man. Yeah, they went out and got it done. I mean, that game would have really hurt had Seattle won that game. That would have sent us into a scramble. And I saw, and I might talk about this later, but I saw everyone, like, as teams win and lose, the percentage that you make the playoffs, changes. And it's, as we've discussed before, that's really faulty math because you're assigning percentages of probability of things that aren't happening yet. So
the Giants right now, their playoff hopes it's like they're like that one pube that's hanging on that's just going to get rolled over by the Manscaped lawnmower. That's about how much life they have left.
Please no.
Yep.
Hey, you worked it a plug.
I did. Just came to me.
It's an absolute professional.
Doing a plug and describing the Giant playoff hopes all in one to get this thing started tonight. All right.
So we are going to talk about the Giant playoff hopes, but before we do that, we are the Three Angry Giant Fans. It's your host, Scott, Giant, Mike, and Cardone. If you're not checking us out on YouTube, go to our YouTube channel, search for Three Angry Giant Fans. But let's give a shout out, and I like the shout out because I get to introduce a vocabulary term here. So, hello, India Atlantic, Florida, population 3,000. India Atlantic, it's an island near Cape Canaveral. But you know what India Atlantic is? India Atlantic is a portmanteau, which is a combination of two words to form a brand new one.
Never heard of it.
Yeah.
India Atlantic.
India Atlantic is using the location between the Indian River and the Atlantic Ocean.
All right.
Trying to think of another good example. The only shitty example I can think of is like when two celebrities date each other and they create a word for the couple. It's the same thing. Yeah. Benifer,
Benifer could be a portmanteau.
Yeah, I think it is. You're combining two words to create another. If that's the definition, I think I'm onto this. How about the Manning cast is a portmanteau, right?
Yes, it is.
Combining Manning with broadcast, right?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
This is unscripted, people. I come up with this as I'm going here. I didn't know this was coming.
The Manning cast, by the way, was quite enjoyable this past week, if you guys watched it.
Quality television.
Adam Vinatieri had me in stitches, actually.
Did he?
It's where the guy, I thought he was a comedian at first. I
actually missed
that's Adam Vinatieri.
I missed it.
Fourth quarter in mop-up action.
That's the best kind.
So, talking about our playoff hopes, next week is basically our Super Bowl. The three of us have deemed this once a year. We always do a save the season party, and usually the last couple of years it's been in September. I think it's a Labor Day cookout, isn't it?
I was going to save the season.
What are
we saving exactly?
Wear a sweatshirt.
But this weekend we're actually going to show up and go out for the primetime Sunday game to save the season and win. And what Mike was talking about earlier with the percentages, win and we have a 90% chance of making the playoffs. Lose and we're about 20%. That's how critical this game is.
Yeah,
90. Wow.
90.
Yeah, that's interesting, right, Chris? How they come up with 90 because really. I don't assign a percentage to it at all. If we beat the Redskins, or I'm sorry, I'm still hooked on last week. If we beat the Commanders, then we beat the Colts. That's how we get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Or again, if the last game of the year for the Eagles means nothing. I mean, and the way they're playing right now, we're going to talk about. We'll certainly break down, our Eagle game the other day, but maybe that game, maybe they have the one seed locked up. Hopefully they do. At this point, they're going to win a division, Philadelphia. So have that game mean nothing, and hopefully they sit everybody, or unless they pull a freaking Doug Peterson bullshit like they did, a couple years ago, and instead of pulling guys this time, they play everybody and screw the Giants. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, if Nick Sirianni's sideline demeanor means anything, the guy's going to not only play everyone, he's probably going to recruit a few other people to come in just for that game and kick our ass.
Yeah.
So, it's the Eagles game. You guys both predicted blowouts. I predicted a closer game last week, but it was pretty evident just from the first series. We watched the Giants get the ball and have 2 sacks in the first drive. They started out with a first down, and where they finished that first down at, they punted from behind that after the 2 sacks, and that basically summed up the day. So that was the start of a debacle where we had a punter miss the ball and then get called for some obscure penalty. We had, just special teams lapses all over the place. Couldn't stop the run. I think Sanders had 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. It was just a dismantling, which in retrospect, we look back and you probably could call this. And by the fourth quarter, guys, and I'll be perfectly honest with you, we don't know what happened because it was pulled from us on the local station. And if you look at DirecTV, you're already blacked out on the local station. So it's not like you have an outlet if you're watching DirecTV to watch the game. So,
And we weren't about to jump in a car and head to a bar to see how we finish out this thrashing. It was, although I do think they cut away too early. I don't remember ever a game cut away that early, but maybe the Giants were just that inept that it made that seem like a good decision to them. But yeah, in hindsight, they cut out really at a good time.
Yeah. I don't know, guys. There's not many ways to break this game down. There's really not. I mean, it's funny. Just before you came on, Scott, I said to Mike, like, usually there's a game like, oh, the turning point was this call or that turnover or this, non-third down conversion or whatever you want to say. This game didn't have a turning point. The turning point was showing, getting out of bed and showing up to this game. And we predicted, the game. We're not as good as the Philadelphia Eagles. That's obvious. We don't even need to go into why and how, we know that. But what really pissed me off and what I thought was bullshit about this game is that leading up to it, Dable and I heard in press conferences leading up to the game, this was just they already accepted this as just like a throwaway game. And I don't know why. That's what bothered me the most is that the Giants came out and again, they're just mano a mano. Philadelphia Eagles are just better than the New York Giants. That's so evident that we're not competitive with this team. But the Giants played like they were in an ice cold swimming pool, a la Costanza. They played like they all had shrinkage factor, and they're like a frightened turtle. They crawled up into their shells and just didn't bother to even show up. It was insane. The first, like you said, Scott, the first drive, we're giving up sacks. And to Mike's point, I think as we were watching the game, what's amazing about the Giant offensive line is that it's not like a guy sheds his tackler or his blocker and then Jones is getting sacked. You can tell the minute Jones drops back, like, oh, here comes the sack. You can see the tackle getting beat around on the edge, and Jones has no chance. The first 5 possessions, guys, I'm reading them right here. The Giants had the ball first, right? This is how the game started. Punt, touchdown. Punt, touchdown. Punt, touchdown, punt. That's a 21-0 lead right there, boys.
Yeah.
And then we got the block punt, where we made it, and we ended up scoring on that to make it 21-7. But look how that game started. That's Alabama playing, like I don't know, Robert Morris or something on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
That's what that was.
And we talked about it a lot during the game too. The Giants in these types of games, right? And of course I'm saying this and people are going to say, yeah, recency bias. What, you guys beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. Come on. But it's not really that. It's when the Giants are bad. We're sitting there, we're watching the Giants. There's other games on. We're flipping around. Houston, by all rights, beat the Cowboys in Dallas, right? Are we worse than Houston? Is Dallas better than Philly? No, neither one of those things are true. So where is our, oh my God, the Giants are playing great today game? Where's our step up game? Win, lose, or draw on this. I predicted a blowout. I like Scotty's score. Giants-Eagles games, when they're both competitive, are probably going to be pretty close. I was probably trying to buy a close game by predicting my score there, to be honest. But we talked about it again on Sunday. Everything with the Giants, when they're bad, everything you expect bad to happen just will happen. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
There's no, oh my gosh, the offensive line, where did this come from? They're playing out of their mind today. It just doesn't happen. We just go meekly down to these dominant teams.
But I got an explanation this week on the kick, on the punt, the botched punt. So apparently it was a legal play. It could have just been considered a missed field goal drop kick attempt, except that our gunners went down and touched the ball, which then made it an illegal kick because they downed it as if it was a punt.
So that's what made it illegal.
Illegal. We touched it first. If Philadelphia had touched it first, it would have been a legal play. But because we touched it first, it nullified that.
That rule makes a lot of sense. So you have to let the other team attempt to return it.
I think it was just one of those, loopholes. I mean, what the fuck? Have you guys ever seen that other than Sean Landeta? And Sean Landeta actually didn't kick a ball. He just dropped a ball.
Well, it's good. I never went and looked up that explanation, which I needed because, like I said when we were watching it, I'm like, well, what is a drop kick field goal if not this? Why does this have to be? Why can't we just say no? We were trying to kick a field goal. What's the difference? And now I have an explanation. So, thank you, host. Still doesn't. It still pisses me off.
But guys, and just to pile on, because it's the Eagles, right? Doesn't that voodoo, we call it, it's the voodoo factor. Don't those fucked up, weird kind of plays always seem to happen against the Philadelphia Eagles, and especially at Met Death? This stuff doesn't go on at the lake, it seems like. Yeah. But it always seems a couple things. We play the Philadelphia Eagles only late in the season at home. I've never seen the sunshine during an Eagle game, home game. I don't know what the hell that's all about. And this weird bullshit just happens, like things like that. Like our punter just decides to drop the ball, things like that. Julian Love just decide. By the way, when it was 7-0, I would say, I just said a few minutes ago that there was no turning point. We had no chance of winning that game. But it was 7-0, and the Eagles are going for it on 4th and 7. And this is a product of today's NFL. And when Hurts throws that lollipop down the near sidelines, what looked like should have been a decapitation of Devontae Smith. 20 years ago, he probably annihilates that guy, separates him from the ball, and there's no first down conversion, a completed pass, let alone a fucking walk-in touchdown on that. But because of today's NFL and the illegal hits, the way it's called nowadays, we've seen this all around the league. With we saw it of course the most famous one is probably now the Minnesota Vikings the Saints playoff game, right, where the guy of the Saints whiffed going by I think it was Diggs when he was the Vikings at that time a few years ago. Same thing here. Well, Julian Love is trying to make a play on a ball. He's not even thinking about laying out a defenseless receiver, and that they walk in there on a 4th down conversion, and that's when the Eagles went up 14-0.
Which, by the way, at the end of the game, when Richie James scored his touchdown, he gets violently hit in the helmet, is probably now going to miss this game with a concussion because of it. So not only do we lose, we get a garbage TD, and on top of it, we get a dirty hit late on us, something that Love didn't do. I'm disappointed in Love, not just for not catching that ball or going for that ball, but the other part of that is it was 4th down, Chris. So all he has to do there, he just has to bat the ball down. He doesn't have to pick it off. He just has to break that play up. Yeah. And if he can't do it by hitting the receiver, he thinks that's going to be too hard. Just jump in there and knock it down with your hands. You get first down. We had first down outside the 40-yard line. If that's
take a better angle, do something. Yeah.
It's a good point, Scott. And I really feel like it frustrates me sometimes, but I feel like I don't feel like that crosses players' minds, and I think it should. When you see a team go for a deep shot on 4th down and the defense intercepts it, I'm always like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Just knock it down. It's like 40 yards of field position. But, I know it's a stats driven league, and to really ask a player to sacrifice a stat for the good of the team seems like asking a lot these days. But yeah, the Julian Love thing is a microcosm of everything. There's little moments of that one little individual play that's everything that's wrong with the league, everything that's wrong with the Giants, everything that's going right for the Eagles. I mean, I can't. Jalen Hurts should have gotten Devonta Smith killed on that play.
Yeah.
Instead, it's a walk-in touchdown. And then you look at the Giants angle of it, it's a low percentage play with a safety breaking on the ball before Hurts throw it. Ends up with a touchdown on 4th and 7. I mean, that play is everything wrong. And then if you look at it from the NFL angle, to Cardone's point, or might have been Scott who said it, not even 15 years ago, Smith is leaving that game on a stretcher.
Yeah.
And there's probably not a call. So, a lot of people listening are probably like, well, isn't that a good thing that Smith isn't leaving the game on the stretcher? No, no, it isn't.
No, you shouldn't be rewarded for just a lollipop throw there. And I'm not putting in, and that's just the way the league is. And guys, we were watching that in real time. It was like almost like in slow motion as you see Love coming over on the screen. And my brother was at the game. He said, "Oh, there's no way this is going to be completed." Just looking at the trajectory of the ball and the way the play is developing, there's no way. At a minimum, you're thinking the ball, that the ball is going to be knocked down, or like I said, maybe even picked off and you lose that yardage.
Yeah.
Whatever the case is. It's giant ball you're thinking after that play on a 4th down play. Yeah. And to make matters worse, he backpedals in for a 14 point lead. Game over. Over.
Yeah. And no matter. Oh, go ahead, Scott.
No, I was just going to say, and they add insult to injury. Not only does he backpedal in, you got A.J. Brown chucking the ball at the goalpost later. You got the Eagles receivers yucking it up, doing the flipping the money signal the entire time on the bench. Like they had a joke with the Giants on Sunday. That's all it was to them.
Yeah.
It was a joke.
No, it was a play date, man. It was they came to town. It just it's frustrating. Just drove circles around us. What's the old thing? You tired of getting sand kicked in your face at the beach, you little 98-pound wimp. That's what we were. I mean, it was never in question. It was never in question. I mean, I don't even want to look at the stats. I don't even want to talk about the game anymore. But on 3rd and 4th down, the Eagles are 7 of 12. The Giants are like 4 of 13 or something. We knocked their punter out of the game, and then they don't have to punt again. What kind of karma voodoo is that shit?
Right.
I mean.
I wrote down a couple plays. Like I said, there's nothing to break down, but it's the Eagles, right? And it's just amazing the stuff that continues to happen. Like, and you just said it before, Mike, and the three of us said it all Sunday. Like, a game that you're expected to lose, you're playing against a better team, and everything that you think is going to go wrong just intensely blows up, right? Not even like, holy shit, the Giants are playing a really solid game today. Like, they're giving the Eagles all they can handle. The Eagles are in a fucking dogfight. It's like, none of that happens.
No.
Not even close. So after the Giants do block the punt, which, by the way, we were laughing just the fact, I don't know what team gets a punt blocked in their own end zone, and the punter actually picks the ball up on the run and carries it another 15 yards, almost gets a first down out of it. Got laid out, which was pretty awesome. But to your point, Mike, didn't even have to punt the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Thankfully the Giants scored. Okay, so 21-7. Maybe there's some hope right there. What happens? Boston fucking Scott.
Yeah.
You talk about Mount Crushmore. He's now replacing. He's on my new Mount Crushmore. This guy.
Yeah.
Boston Scott returns a kickoff, 66 yards, puts the Eagles in scoring position. They held them to 3 on that drive, but nonetheless, it still counts as a score after the score. They went up 24-7. Ended the half. Halftime was 24-7. Game was over, but does Boston Scott even have to go for a 66-yard kick return? No. Everything that could go wrong, should go wrong, does in that kind of game.
Yeah.
That's the thing that pisses the three of us off more than the game itself. It's how the game goes. It's unbelievable.
Any moment of prosperity is immediately followed by a soul-crushing play within the next 2 minutes of game clock. It's uncanny.
It's unbelievable.
We just can't have something and celebrate it and go on with the game just goes on from there. No, it's the same thing that happens with Dallas. It's the same freaking thing. We score a touchdown. It brings us within 3 or 6 or whatever. Dallas gets the ball. They return it to the 45. They hand it off to Pollard. He's down the sideline for a touchdown. It's uncanny.
It is.
We can't enjoy any prosperity with this team.
And I still laugh about the punter because, again, when's the last time you ever saw a punt block where the punter immediately sprints to the ball, gets a bounce right up to his chest so he could just haul it in, and he starts running down the sideline?
No,
never.
It's almost
Never.
always like 3 defenders are there falling on it, trying to decide which one gets the touchdown.
No. This
By the
guy
way,
takes it out with
The
4-2,
punter's usually terrified at that point to even go anywhere near the ball.
runs on the back of the end zone holding his
Yeah.
leg. No.
But by the way, we were watching the end of the Cowboy Texan game, and on the last Hail Mary that happened, I joked with you guys about Diggs wanting that interception bad. Well, he tweeted after the game, "Come on, bro, you got to give me at least half of an interception out of that."
Such a loser.
Dick.
Oh my, just such a loser. That's not embarrassing to him that his team should have lost that game. I mean, if they're playing any other team but the Texans, if they're playing the second worst team in the league, they lose it. But the Texans had it right in the sights. It just didn't even get a shot off. It's just so. But no, Diggs is worried about a half an interception that he does or didn't get. He's probably. I mean, we didn't watch much of that game. I guarantee Diggs is responsible for 14 of Houston's points. How about that?
They have, it's twice now. So in that game and then in the Atlanta game versus Washington, the opponent had a 1st and goal inside the 5 with a chance to either go ahead and take the lead late or put the game away. And in both cases, the teams failed. And when that happens, I mean, these teams are now coming away with wins. So we heard it talked about earlier about how strong the Cowboys look going into that game, but it's a week-to-week league right now, and that's why I'm saying if you
Unless
win
you're
against
playing the
Washington, unless you're playing the Giants, but we have a chance. Even as bad as we've looked, we have a chance right now. This Sunday is the chance. I'm going to throw out a stat for you guys. So the Giants are allowing a sack every 8.68 pass attempts. The Bears are actually worse than the Giants. They're like at 8.3 or something like that. There has not been any team worse than these two since 2019. And the worst part about the statistic is even though Jones is being sacked at such a high rate, we're only dropping back. He's only has like the 28th most dropbacks in the league.
Yeah.
So we're not passing that often, but yet when we do, we have immediate pressure in his face. This will go to some of the Daniel Jones discussion I want to have a little bit after we do the Redskins preview. But this kind of stuff, when people get on Jones, and I saw a lot of Giant fans blaming him for the loss against the Eagles, which I found absurd. Do they not realize this kind of stat with the offensive line? Do they not see what we did in that opening series with guys just running? I mean, they're not even shedding a block. They're just at the line of scrimmage. They're taking a step, and all of a sudden there's no one in front of them. They just run right through to have a free pass at Jones. You look at those receivers that he has. How do you not look at that and say, Jones is doing well in the face of this? Instead, you're trying to pin blame on him. And like I said, I'm going to do a little bit longer breakdown on this after we talk about the Redskins, but that just sort of sets the stage. I thought that stat right there is just illustrative of how much, even though we think we've improved on the offensive line, how much work is left to be done on the offensive line.
Yeah, I don't know if you want me to get totally into it here, but I'll just say to your point, watching this game, and I can't remember if it was the very last game. No, it wasn't the Redskins. It must have been like the Cowboys game or something. The thing that dawned on me, I'm always finding new ways to criticize this offensive line, right? But it really happened in the Eagles game, and I might have mentioned it while we were watching it, is that the offensive line gets beat by simple high school defensive line stunts, crosses and loops. There's nobody there. There's nobody there. I think it's a physical issue, and I think it's a mental issue. I think they're not very strong, and they're pretty stupid. Great combination.
That's a great combination. This offensive line, we thought we saw we did see some improvements early in the season, and then when they were sitting at 6-1, 7-2, which feels like months ago now, they've regressed, guys. I think they definitely have regressed in the last few weeks, and it's no surprise that we have 4 losses in the last 6 weeks or whatever it is. So yeah, we've said it all year. We've been saying it for a while. Daniel Jones, we don't even have the opportunity to know how good this guy is. I think as bad as offensive line has performed, the guy's playing still the best he possibly can. This is and so I was thinking about this even before we came on tonight. As what am I angry about? What am I pissed off about? It's just a weird season right now, the way the last few weeks have turned, because we weren't expecting to be in this situation. And then we were kind of thrust into it because we barreled out of the gate, the first couple months, winning a lot of close games. It's like, holy shit, this Giants team is competitive, and they are one of the teams to beat in the NFC. And now all of a sudden it seems, we say week to week, but now the Giants I have no confidence with this team winning another game almost. And a lot of it is because of it's the offensive line, as we know it. And this is for every single team. This is the NFL. And it's just another reminder at this level of football, you go as your offensive line goes. And the Giants have not had a good one for what seems like forever. And we'll get into the Jones, stuff here, Scott, which I know we wanted to, and in terms of what's his future, what's the Giants' future with Jones, without Jones, that kind of thing. But guys, this offensive line, again, inexplicable, just poor performance. And where does it end? How does it end? Why won't it end? I can't. It's amazing. I don't know if the anger and the frustration. It's just more frustration than even anger at this point with this offensive line. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So looking forward to the Redskins, because that's where our attention really needs to be for this week. We're going up against a team that's had an extra week to prepare for us. Of course, we've talked about this before. They were on bye last week while we had to play the Eagles. They're getting Chase Young back, I believe. So things are starting to align for them in terms of getting healthier for the end of the year run. I'm hoping we get Adoree Jackson back. I don't know if he's coming back this week or next week. It would be nice if he's able to play this week. But guys, this is going to be a dogfight. But the silver lining here is when we played them at Giant Stadium, we should have won. So if we play that kind of a game, if we generate pressure like we did from Ojulari and Tibbs, we should be able to force some mistakes from Heineke. And we should be competitive in this game. Will it translate to a win? I don't know. I really don't. I don't even know what my prediction is going to be here in a few minutes. I'm still trying to wrap my head around this game. We don't play badly on the road when we play them, so it's not like I'm scared of being in their house. I do not like the scheduling on this though, where the Redskins had an extra week of rest.
No, something just seems off and wrong about it. I mean, we got to play it now, so there's no use complaining about it really, but the league has got to protect teams from this. This is, I thought this was the reason we had the bye. One of the reasons we were sold the bye was that so you could make it easier to schedule around things like this without a team playing every week. You can shift buys around and stuff. There's no other way to say it. The Giants are in a bullshit situation here, and it's unacceptable. It's completely unacceptable. We I think at the beginning of the year, we kind of joked about it when we saw the schedule, but now that it's actually here and it's happening, and my God, I kind of think we didn't think those games would be all that meaningful probably at the time, but here we are now, and they're super meaningful. I mean, this game is depending basically whether or not we go to the playoffs, and now we have to be put at this gigantic disadvantage. And then, oh, by the way, we're going to flex that game to the night game too, just to, it's unacceptable. Chris, I'll let you opine on that before we go into the breaking down the game itself.
Yeah. No, it's complete bullshit, guys. Earlier in the season, you're not looking that far ahead into, late December. What those games are going to mean. And we probably didn't think the games were going to be that meaningful. Probably not even for the Giants so much as even the freaking Commanders. Who thought they were going to be in the playoff hunt? Nobody. So, we thought, all right, we'll get at least one win there. We can always knock off the Commanders. And now I just have a feeling, I have a bad feeling that it's going to be easy to point. Our season is going to come down to a team that was resting a week in between playing. I've never seen this before, guys. I think we already highlighted this, and I'm not going to go back. I don't even know if it's possible to go back. This is something that for the Elias Sports Bureau to do one of these things. Since they implemented the bye, when has a team ever in the history of the bye played the same? We brought this up last week. Played the same team 2 games in a row without playing somebody else in between. It's unprecedented. And it just so happens that our whole entire 2022 season now is riding on this game. I just feel like that is just too much to overcome. And we'll be talking here about this next week, and we'll be easily pointing to, now it may or may not have any, who knows how the game is going to play out, right? It could be, the Giants could win or lose on, many different ways, but you can't deny that it favors the home team here in prime time, waiting for the Giants, who had to play, the best team in football last week, albeit they laid down against them. But still, to your point, Scott, like, hey, if the Giants run a bye last week, we're not fucking losing Richie James to a concussion in garbage time, right? Because he's not on the field. Yep. So it's things like that where, hey, the Commanders are coming in full strength. So I just have a bad feeling. Again, my prediction, I don't know. I was thinking about how I want to predict this game, but the more I think about it, guys, the more I feel like it's our season's in a lot of jeopardy Sunday night.
And here's the one thing about it that really gets me, and I didn't even consider this before until recently when we realized how big this is all going to be. So the NFL sets up this schedule. Surely someone looks at the Redskins schedule when they're done and they're like, oh man, it's Giants by Giants. And then in the middle, we've got the Giants playing the Eagles. Didn't someone say, hey, how about we have that second of those 2 games be at Giants Stadium then? How about we have the bounce back game on there be at Giants? So we flip the home and away on those. That seems like a pretty easy thing to give the Giants one measly advantage out of this whole thing. No.
Exactly.
No.
We got one advantage. They didn't put us on Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the only crumb they threw us. How we wanted this to be a Saturday game. You guys shut up.
So getting to the Redskins, though, I mean, if we look back at the last game, they did run the ball in the first half pretty well. What they did do well was convert some 3rd down opportunities and some 4th down opportunities on passing plays. And I think we brought it up on the last podcast, just how much their receivers helped out Heineke in making some of those catches. Whereas, for our guys, the ball has to be basically in the breadbasket for them to be making the play. And that to me is what defined that game, along with obviously the Feliciano taunting penalty and our inability to convert on that last drive in overtime. So, I mean, if we replay the game that we just played and we get some breaks, I think we have an opportunity, but I don't know. I don't know what our mindset is right now. I don't know if we're battered and beaten like everyone's pointing us out to be. Giants haven't won since October or whatever. It's like you just get a lot of shade thrown our way right now, and I don't know how much of that is just perception and how much of that is really what the internal belief is on this team.
Yeah, it's I don't know, man. It just feels like we're on thin ice right now. I don't think it's amazing, this league. It doesn't take much to gain confidence and to quickly lose confidence. And right now, just as a fan, I'm not confident. The Giants, their body language, the last couple. I mean, maybe had they hung on, had they pulled out the first Redskin game, we'd probably be talking differently. I'm sure we would be talking differently. Maybe the Eagle game isn't a throwaway. Who knows what happens? You just don't know. But I think, Scott, you're just saying, like, the preparation for this game, I don't know. I got a weird feeling. I don't know. Like, what's the game plan going to be? We can't feature Barkley anymore because we've seen Mike, you made a great point. I don't want to take it from you, but like, I think it bears, mentioning. You made an exceptional point late in the game against the Eagles where, dare I say it, I think these were your words. Like, I don't want to make it seem like this is the obvious, but it's almost as if the Giants their offense is more effective right now with Barkley not in the game. because the defense is zeroing in on Barkley so intensely, and the Giants don't have a way to run a counter play. They don't do any pre-snap motion. They don't get him out in open space. We can't get this guy the ball in open space. So right now it's almost, and we saw that a couple times. And again, that game is almost it's not even a good sample of running Brightwell or Breida here a couple times. But we saw Brightwell hit the hole a couple times. We saw, we're not even seeing Barkley get a 10-yard sprint up the middle anymore. Everything has completely shut down for Barkley. And we've already highlighted the fact that Jones doesn't have more than 2 seconds to set up and throw a clean ball. He has no one to throw to. So what's the game plan, guys? This game right now, offensively, what is it? What's the game plan?
No,
I don't know.
I don't know. And, it's the point about Barkley is that, man, I thought about it all week because I don't want to think that way. I love Barkley. But, man, it's almost like in my mind, the most effective use of Barkley right now is third down back. And I know people right now that are listening to this are going, what the hell are you talking about?
Right.
But when Barkley's in the game, there's no question when our offense is on the field, right? The offensive line is the worst unit of our offense. When Barkley's in the game, the offensive line just gets assaulted on every play. We're inviting them to attack our weakness, in other words. And it just, I get, put Breida in there on first and second down. He's not going to get 100 yards maybe, but he might pop off some 4-yard first down runs that we can do something with. And then, you get in a 3rd and 3, you put Barkley in there and you do the delay draw or you throw it to him out of the backfield. Barkley Meggett, give him number 30 and let him run the Meggett and the Tiki plays. I mean, I don't know that. I know that sounds insane. And I'm not even thinking that they're hopeful to do that, but you have got to figure out a way to get pressure off the offensive line. And our receivers are not talented enough to get separation, to give Jones time to throw the ball out quick enough. They're just not. So what stops the defense from crowding the line of scrimmage against the Giants? I mean, I don't even think taking Barkley out of the game slows the defense down that much in that regard, but it slows them down a little. We do see the series where Breida comes in and spells Barkley, and more times than not, he rips off a 7, 8, 9, 11 yarder on those drives. When they're holding Barkley to 4 and under the entire game, and it's because the defense takes a breath when Barkley's not on the field, and we're able to take advantage of it.
Yeah, and I think one thing we talked about early in the season when we were doing well is we were giving ourselves second and manageable consistently. So second and 4, second and 3. And here's part of the problem we're seeing right now is we get to like second and 6. And a lot of times we try to punch it in there again on a run. And that run is telegraphed, and the offensive line now is not holding their blocks as well as they were earlier in the year. So what used to be maybe a 3-yard run on 2nd and 6 is now becoming a no gain or even a loss. And now you're back into 3rd and 8, and what you've done is run the ball twice to get to 3rd and 8. So it's not even like you're doing the short pass dump off to West Coast offense, things like that.
Yeah.
You're just running the ball twice and netting 2 yards.
Yeah, now Scott, wow, that's an excellent point, because that's where Barkley being on the field hurts us more.
Yeah.
Because when we get a 4-yard run on first down and then Barkley's in the game, now on second down, a good offensive call, if the defense is playing honest against you, is to try to punch it up there again and get another 4 or 5. That's not a terrible call. But with Barkley out there, we can't do it because the team playing us is playing it as if it's 1st and 10 or worse, 3rd and 1. It's a very difficult situation. And anything I'm talking about here, of course, would be temporary. You get a moderate to very good offensive line, and Barkley's going to go bananas in this league. Bananas.
Yeah.
So, any other points before we get to score predictions?
About the Skins? All I have here about the Redskins game is it's hard to say anything different than we said last time. I know we mentioned it earlier. For the first 8 minutes of that game, it looked like the Giants were going to be overrun. For the rest of the game, the Giants looked like the better team on the field, other than shooting themselves in the foot a couple times in the fourth quarter. And even with that, they make a play that essentially ends a game and gets a really ticky-tack penalty against them. So, I guess I'll leave my comments there. I don't think Washington is head and shoulders better than us. That being at home gives them a huge advantage for any kind of win. This is going to be a Giants-Redskins game. You want to score?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, 21-17 Redskins.
Okay.
All right.
I thought maybe we'd have the same score again.
Yeah, you guys have been pretty close in that regard, but you just hit on a lot of points there, Mike. Yeah, it's not that much different than a couple weeks ago when we played this team, and yeah, the Giants did look like the better team after the Redskins got out to that 10-0 lead. The Giants certainly found a way to settle down and look like the better team there. They scored on 4 straight possessions at that point, but the good news is a couple things. Just are they going to carry over to this game? Who knows? But the Giants do tend to. We've talked about it. For some reason, they're just they play better on the road. Sometimes I have a feeling that this is another one of those years where the Giants are slightly better, for some reason, more comfortable playing on the road. They always seem to play well in Washington. That's been going on forever. The Redskins are not the Eagles. Heineke is not Jalen Hurts. So yeah, I think I was just saying before, I have no idea how we're going to attack them offensively. Defensively, we got to force Heineke into some turnovers. We got to force him. We got to get turnovers. We got to win that battle, and that's as cliche as it gets. But it's just the way the Giants. It's the only. I don't want to say only, but it's one of a major factor for the Giants to win a game right now. In terms of like other things, as far as the X's and O's, they got to do just some of the most obvious ones. Control the ball, don't turn the ball over, and just pick up some critical third down conversions, keep drives alive, keep them off the field, those kinds of things. But I think what I just said before, I'm not going to contradict myself here. I have a feeling that for whatever reason, guys, none other than just I feel like now all of a sudden this year is slipping away from us for the playoffs for whatever reason. There's a reason why Washington all of a sudden is doing what they're doing, 6-1-1 in their last 8 games. The Giants, for some reason, are at least a year away. I don't know. I just feel like it's slipping away, and I think the Giants lose this game. The Giants it's going to be somewhere in your neighborhood there, Mike. I didn't have a score in my head, but I'm going to go with like 23-16 Redskins.
Yeah. All right. So, we always talk about bringing fervor. We said we were going to bring fervor to the game against the Eagles. I'm talking about us personally, not the Giants, which they obviously didn't do. So I'm planning on bringing fervor to the game on Sunday night. I'm really excited for this, and I will say this: I just have a feeling, and these feelings don't always work for me, but I have a feeling that the last 2 weeks we've given up crucial 4th downs. 4th down big plays, actually 4th down touchdowns in both games. And I think we're going to see the Giants with a lead late, and we're going to see Riverboat Ron take another one of those gambles, and they're probably going to call him Riverboat Ron going for it here. And this time it's not going to work. And I think we walk off the field with a 23-20 win. And with that 23-20 win, we then really only will need to beat Indianapolis to secure a playoff spot, or beat Minnesota or the Eagles. But I'm picking the low hanging fruit and saying we're going to beat.
I hope there's no Colts players that are listening and being like, listen to these guys, their team sucks too.
Right.
But yeah, it's I like all those predictions. Obviously, the scores are about the same. That we all know that game, depending on 1 or 2 bounces, 1 or 2 calls, is going to go in one of those directions.
Yeah.
What we have, Taylor Heineke threw a lot of bad passes in that first game, and the Redskin receivers caught about 80% of them.
Yeah.
We need to turn those bad passes into incomplete passes and turnovers. And I think if we do that, we're in danger of stretching out a lead at the end of the game. But my God, I mean, some of those passes those receivers were bringing down, and then you just juxtapose that to our receivers with block hands, just unable to catch anything that's not perfect. It's infuriating. But here we go.
I wanted to point out one thing in watching the games around the league. So I watched some of that Rams game on was it Sunday night or was it Monday night? Sunday night, right?
Yeah.
It was the Rams and Chargers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And And during that game, Scott Novak, our friend, was refereeing. And in that game, I saw him in two sequences in the first half call third down defensive holding plays on 3rd and like 12. And neither really looked like an infraction. But then later in the game, there was a roughing the passer called on Justin Herbert. Actually, it wasn't they were playing the Rams, was
No,
it?
Chargers played. No, they played Miami.
Chargers played Miami.
Chargers played Miami.
So
Yeah.
so Jalen Phillips for Miami goes in there, has a sack, and it's just a regular takedown of a quarterback. And sure enough, the flag comes out. What would have been 4th down and a mile from your own like 4-yard line, a punt out of your end zone, is no 1st down, 15 yards, roughing the passer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went and looked because, we've talked about Scott Novak. We talked about some of the shitty calls he's had against us and around the league. And I looked at his crew. They have the highest number of 3rd down defensive penalties called over the last couple of years. And it's not even close to the next group.
Interesting. Mm-hmm.
So they're the ones that threw the penalty on Holmes on that 3rd and 8 or whatever defensive holding that looked like it was no contact whatsoever. They called 2 more again that I saw this week. I might have missed a couple because I wasn't watching that game, just like as intently as I should. But I did catch the roughing the passer call. Just this stuff around the league it's getting out of hand. Now I did see something today where they're talking about possibly reviewing roughing the passer, but if it's anything like they reviewed defensive pass interference, I can't see that's going to go, well.
They'll put it in for 1 year to shut the media up, who right now is hand wringing about the roughing the passer, and then they'll slowly bring it back to the way it was, just like pass interference. It's garbage. It's funny. I was thinking about this week. You mentioned the 3rd down penalties, and yeah, how do announcers not notice that, right? If they watch more football than anybody. They watch tapes of the previous games and other games. No one ever said on the air that I've heard of it. I do have one exception to this because I got this from somebody. I didn't come up with this on my own. I got this years ago from somebody. But so they have to notice that, but never have you heard someone on the air go, 3rd down, you got to watch out for a defensive penalty here, or the defensive penalty happens and like, oh, yep, it's 3rd down. Just nobody dares criticize in that way. So the one exception to that was way back in the day. It was Jerry Glanville calling a game, and I remember very well it wasn't the Giants. For some reason, I think it might have been the Bills, but it was a 4:30 game, and I was watching the game, and Jerry Glanville was calling that game, and somebody had a big play, and the other announcer said something to the effect of, "Oh, they might have missed that hold there," And Jerry Glanville said, "They're not calling that. It's not 1st down." and they went on. And I don't know. I'm guessing I was probably between 14 and 17 when that happened, somewhere in there. I was like, what did he just say? So then I started, that I was like, whoa. And then I started thinking about all these big holding calls in Giants games and everything over the years. I was like, they are always on 1st down. That is a first. So that put that in my head that penalties have downs. And now, of course, the defensive holding stuff is relatively new, but they've assigned that to 3rd down now. So in case you ever wonder if the calls are bullshit, all you got to know is they have assigned downs. Like nobody ever holds on 2nd. You know what? Come on.
We talked about it in the game. I think it was 7-0 at that point. I think it was on the drive to make it 14-0 with the Eagles. And of course we get called for we make a 3rd down stop and we get called for a penalty. And I think Chris made the comment, can they not let us off the field? Why do they have to keep us on the field here? Can we not get a stop here?
It's the officials rule book says, on an incomplete pass on 3rd down or 5 or more, you have the option to call defensive holding for basically anything.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But anyone listening to us, like this year or like we bring this up a lot, but it's just facts. We've been watching football our whole lives, and all 3 of us can remember, and anyone who's been a football fan of this league for decades knows that defenses drives just used to end all the time. Especially on third and long, anything like 3rd drive, they were incomplete pass. It just defenses got off the field all the time.
I just remember I don't remember big games, that you'd always see the third down sack and you'd be like, that's the
Yeah.
dagger.
Right.
You
Yeah.
never saw a third down sack with, well, wait a minute, before while the quarterback was in the pocket holding defense,
I just dawned on me what we need here, right? The NFL is insufferable and we can't fix this, I don't think. Elon Musk needs to buy the NFL. That's the only way out. Elon
He can
Musk needs to
afford
buy
it.
the NFL, and he needs to say, we're going to revert back, and we're going to play this game the way it's meant to be played. And basically, I've always said this. I might have gotten this one from my dad. I don't know, but I've said it my whole life. But 3rd and 15 is basically hockey overtime. You better murder somebody to get a defensive penalty on 3rd and 15.
We've seen
Because that
cases
is
where you
letting
don't
a
even
team off
touch
the
a
hook.
guy and
Yeah.
it's a penalty. That's
Yeah.
the most absurd thing to me. And guys, we're a little bit remiss because we didn't bring this up because the game was so far out of hand. But we had a 4th down conversion against the Eagles
No, I
where
want to bring it up. Yeah.
we are once again called for offensive pass interference, and we just for those listening to us, we cackled like maniacally because not just 10 minutes before that, I had made the comment that the Eagles got away with a blatant offensive pass interference running a route similar. I said, if we get called for something like that, I'm going to lose my shit. And sure enough, not only do we get called for it, we get called for it on 4th down. And it might have actually been, it might have been the sequence before Gillen whiffed on the punt. I can't remember.
No, I think it was later.
I think it was a little bit later, but
I love Chris's comment about it because he's like, we can't even have just a harmless 4th down conversion. Like it doesn't mean anything to the game. We can't have it.
No, it wasn't changing the outcome of the game. Again, it's one of those where we say it every time, and it bears repeating because I still think it's funny. Nobody on the Eagles sidelines is like, "Where the fuck's the penalty? Where's the flag on that play? That was an obvious pick." Nobody who sees this watch. Our receiver, I think, was it Bellinger? It doesn't matter who it was.
I think it was the other tight end that came in after Bellinger, 89. I can't even think
trying to
get
out of the way. He's doing a crossing route. Has nothing. Like, it's so blatant. Exactly, Mike. Why a harmless 1st down conversion?
Yeah.
We're not allowed to just keep the drive alive and just can't. Nope, can't. Giants get called for offensive PI week in and week out. Does anyone else realize this? For anyone who's listening to this, just start looking for it and watch for it. We get one every week.
Yeah, I'd like to. I don't watch enough from other teams to know if that's called with the regularity it is against the Giants. Based on past viewing, I have to say no, because the Patriots would have won about half the number of Super Bowls they'd won, and we wouldn't even know Aaron Rodgers' name if those were regular calls. So I don't know.
When other teams do it, it's called a rub route. When the Giants do it's a penalty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or it's called the back in the Steve Walsh days, it was called the West Coast offense, is what it was called. It was the most creative, offense known to man in the NFL history, archives.
What I laugh about on those when they're called against us is you can see that we are never intentionally doing it. Like our guys actively trying to get out of the way. The ones that have been downfield have been guys that aren't even looking at the defender and just happen to run into them. And meanwhile, we're getting flagged for this.
Yeah, that's the other thing that's awesome. These are 10, 15 yards downfield or more. The one earlier in the year was like 45 yards downfield. But yeah, and that's just what's funny with the other. And on at least half of ours, I believe we bet that was the 4th now, or maybe just the 3rd. But on 2 of them, the rub wasn't even rubbing the guy who was supposed to cover the guy who caught the pass. So I don't know, man. It's like the league wants certain teams, Giants included, and I'm not saying there's this as soon as this starts coming out of my mouth, it sounds like I'm saying they're being persecuted, but the Giants have to be perfect. Every week, the Giants have to be perfect. And, you can stretch that out to not just the officials, too. Daniel Jones can't sit back there and throw bad passes all day. He's going to end up with 4 turnovers if he does. Taylor Henneke just weighing him out there and, Frisbee catching dogs, bringing them down. It's, and when it comes to officials, it's like, okay, all right. So what do you tell the Giants if you're the defensive coordinator? Guys, on 3rd down, like, don't even touch anybody. right? Now you've got 5 guys running free, not covered out in the secondary. What are we supposed to do? The ones we've been called for have been such utter horseshit. I don't know what less you can do to interfere with somebody.
Yeah.
Infuriating.
And that
So-
was my pet peeve.
So if you haven't, for your significant other, purchased the Manscaped Platinum Package 4.0, you still have time. The holidays are coming, and it's never too early to play holiday music, and it's never too early to start thinking about what to put under the tree for your loved one. So whether it's for a friend or the friends in your pants, you can't make this a season not to be jolly. So go to manscaped.com, enter the code AngryMan, get 20% off your order, free shipping, and get a quality product.
Oh my God. Has there ever been a better deal than that?
I'm sure there's been better deals, but this is still
Holy
a great
crow.
deal. It's
It's
still
amazing.
a great deal.
I can't, I'm so miserable with the Giants right now. I can't even imagine how I'd be if I were pre-Manscaped right now.
Exactly. How else are you going to get through the rest of the season without
Right.
these products? I
Right.
can't.
You have to. Yeah.
You have to bristle with anger because you can't bristle other ways.
That's right. You can't. I mean, that's well said, Scott. I mean, you can't.
It is.
Just we're totally in troll mode. Just everything sucks. At least we're shorn and fresh.
That's right.
So before we get into pet peeves, and we do have a question to answer too, I sort of set this up earlier when I was talking about Daniel Jones. But guys, every Monday that I go on social media, I go on giant boards or anything like that, it seems like so many fans are fixated on Jones week to week. It's almost like they want to make a referendum on what Daniel Jones has done, what he hasn't done, and they want to run him out of town. And the thing is, we're in December right now. In another month, 2 months, depending on how far the season goes, it's the end of the season. That's when the decision will be made. Daniel Jones, for newsflash for people, Daniel Jones is a free agent. So they're going to make a decision on him whether to make him an offer. And Daniel Jones can always choose to leave whether or not he wants to take that offer.
Why wouldn't he? Get out of here.
So why are people trying to pin everything on Daniel Jones? If we had a different quarterback this season, are things materially different? I go back and I look at things and I say no, because I'm trying to find a game to identify on the schedule that we've lost where I think Daniel Jones was the main culprit for our loss or made some significant play that I say, okay, that cost us the game. And a lot of times he's getting blamed on every loss. And a lot of times I'm looking at these games going, how is he at fault? How was he at fault for the Eagles loss? What did he do wrong?
No, Chris kind of said it earlier, and I love the comment. Chris, I'm sorry. You go ahead. Actually, I don't want
No. Go ahead, Mike. Finish that thought, please. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, you said when I watch the Giant games, I see Daniel Jones doing the best possible job he can on every play, but the best possible isn't good enough because of the what's going on around him. And that's exactly, I mean, you said that, and I just was like, yep, that's it. I watch a Giants play and I watch it turn into, the end of a Benny Hill episode. And I know when I'm done watching that play that what the hell else was Daniel Jones supposed to do? That 2-yard gain should have been a 6-yard loss. I don't know. I don't know how people don't see that. That's the most simplistic of it. But go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry to
No, I was
interrupt
going to
you.
say, I wanted to say, social media, we talk about this all the time. Are these fans that are making these comments, or is it actually expert analysts that are on, network television or on podcasts or on, national radio, syndication shows, that on a national level? But because to me, we the three of us have said this all the time. If you think this year specifically, forget about previous years. This year specifically, if you've watched every New York Giant game and you think that Daniel Jones is the problem, then you don't fucking know anything about football. You don't know anything about the New York Giants. You don't know anything about what it takes to win an NFL game. How you can think that – I'm not saying the guy hasn't made a mistake. He's not flawless. He's not – that's not what I'm suggesting at all. But to say that Jones is the reason the Giants are now slumping or whatever, or not winning football games right now means that you don't have any clue to what you're looking at, you have no football knowledge whatsoever. I could take it from fans who we could just scoff at. Fans, they don't have a mind of their own. They don't have an opinion of their own. They just go with the mob and the media. They're not able to form their own opinion based because they're not smart enough. But when I hear it from actual expert analysts breaking down that Jones has to go and he's the main problem right now, it absolutely, that's when I get kind of crazy. That's really when I get triggered and be like, what are you looking at? Then who do you want? Okay, Mr. Expert, then what is the solution? If Jones has to go and we got to start over and all that, and that may be the case. We don't know what's going to happen in another month or 2 months' time. Then what? Then what's the plan?
And a lot of these comments are being made by fans, but it's dividing the Giants community because so many of these fans are so dug into the fact that Jones doesn't deserve to be the quarterback here that they basically come out and just are actively trolling other fans saying, why is this guy still on the roster? Why is this guy doing this? Why is this guy doing that? And here's the thing. We're in the middle of getting ready to prepare for the biggest game of the season. And all I heard last week is Daniel Jones is holding this team back. I don't know what's being said like that. But here's the other part about this. We know that the decision's going to be made in a couple months. I just said that. But here's the other part too. It's going to come down to a financial discussion. How much is Jones worth to stay on this roster versus a different option? And, you hear fans putting out, like 5 weeks ago, Giant fans were like, oh, Marcus Mariota and Daniel Jones are the same guy. Marcus Mariota, I think, just walked away from the Falcons because he was benched. I think he just left the team, if I heard a report right today.
Yep.
People talk about, just bring Jacoby Brissett and you'll get the same production as Jones. What on earth makes you think you're going to get the same production as Jones? People underestimate what Jones has done this year with literally guys that are like the three of us running routes for him.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's almost like people are willfully ignoring the cast behind them because they want to stick to the narrative that Jones is terrible because they said it on draft night. And here's another thing I'll point out. What if you flipped Dexter Lawrence and Daniel Jones in the draft order? And Dexter Lawrence went number 6 and Jones went number 17. Would people be all over Dexter Lawrence about the production from a number 6 pick and saying, well, Jones was at the bottom of the first round. It's okay. No, they'd still be ragging on Daniel Jones.
Yeah, that I've heard many people who argue quarterback play use that excuse. Well, he okay, you guys are right. He's fine, but he's a number 6 pick. He needs to be better than fine, which is, as we know with the supporting cast, we all know that. I think the three of us always used to say, when you meet a new guy and he's a Giants fan, you just right away go to Eli and Coughlin. And if they were anti-Eli and Coughlin, it was like an IQ test. You knew this guy's a moron. Like, I don't even need to. I'm not going to invite this guy over to my house.
No reason to continue talking.
No, it's like a football IQ test. If you thought Eli was ever the problem, get out of here. leave me alone. Jones is becoming the same way. And what Jones does is he exposes. I think there's two types of fans who want to run Jones. That's the fans who don't watch enough football to know anything except that when the team loses quarterback bad, that's what that's all they know. And they're just simps, and that's what they're going to do. And if they have to get engaged in a football conversation, it makes them sound like they know what they're doing to rag on somebody. And the other group is like this group I think, Scott, you're referring more to, and it's the draft day people. And their whole life is the NFL draft. And they want the Giants drafting a quarterback. They want that to be exciting. They don't want Andrew Thomas again. They don't want Evan Neal again. They want Jones gone and to turn the page and get new, exciting new toys in here. That's what they want. They're not really fans of the team. They don't give a shit that it sets us back. They want to make the most capital they can on draft day. They want quarterbacks. They want fun things to play with. Both are equally idiots. One knows a little bit more about football than the other, but neither one of them know how to analyze quarterback play, and neither one of them are very good Giant fans.
Yeah, that's well put. Actually, I like that.
Very. Yeah.
So you guys got any pet peeves this week?
I always got one.
Yeah,
you want to go, Mike?
Yeah, mine's weak, so I'll follow you this week because I know it's weak anyway.
Well, mine is it's actually one that it's more. You see this more like in basketball. Faster pace of play than even football. And I was watching a game the other day, and this one drives me crazy, man. Where you got an intense. It happened to be a close basketball game. Doesn't matter who was playing, whatever. I was on my fourth Bird Dog whiskey or whatever it was, watching the game, and so this
was after the Giants game.
This was this was, believe it or not, this was, I don't even remember. I'm trying to remember when it was over the weekend. I think this was actually Saturday. I'm going back to Saturday now. It's just a weekend of drinking. We're in the holidays now, so it's just, the weekends are a blur at this point. But it's this one where you got a close basketball game. It's the team just comes down on like a fast break. They slam dunk. So there's like a wild slam dunk, so the arena's going wild. Like the game was like cut to, like a 2-point game. The team's coming back, and the cameraman must focus on the guy that he's trying to get a reaction from the player, from the fans, from the coach, whatever. The camera is everywhere but where the fucking ball is. Like the play is still going on. There wasn't a timeout. So what happens? You hear the announcer like, oh, and the inbound pass is stolen, and they lay it back up, and the cameraman finally comes back to the play, and now the game is like tied, where it was just a 2-point lead. And my pet peeve is with the cameraman, stop fucking moving, stop taking the camera off of a live ball while the game is still going on. You see it sometimes in football, like you see it in every sport, though, where the camera guy or someone decides they think the play has stopped. They think there's either been a timeout or a whistle or something. The camera goes somewhere else into the stands or something. Meanwhile, the action is still going on the court, the ice, the field, wherever, and you have no idea what happened. So now here you got a critical game going on. You have a tied basketball game with 30 seconds left. I have no idea what just happened because the cameraman is up in the fucking rafters looking for the game. I think they thought there was a timeout because even the announcer's like, oh, and there's they steal the inbound pass, and they're like, too late, camera. They go back to that live action. Too late. The crowd is going wild. No idea what just happened. They had to then go to a timeout break eventually later, come back and show like now a different camera angle. Someone in the truck had to go to the technical director and say, do we have any replay of that play? Which was it was this riveting wild steal off the inbound, a dish underneath. The guy, comes in with a wild windmill layup. Never saw it live. We have no idea what's going on. Stop taking the camera off of a live ball.
I think you just played that. I think you just described that Celtics inbound play from way back in the day. Now there's a steal by Bird.
There's a steal by Bird. That's kind of what it was like. Of course, well, at least the camera I think was on that one. This was, I want to say it was like the Big East game. I don't remember what game it was, but the game doesn't matter. The point is like stop taking the camera off the field until make sure that the game has actually come to a stop before you start. They had to immediately get a reaction from the player who just had the slam dunk. He's, I don't know, doing a throat slash or something to the crowd. Who knows what the hell he's doing? Because we got to get that. Then the coach, then the fan. No idea what's going on. There's layups happening. No idea what happened.
Yeah, it's a good thing it wasn't a Cowboy game. They would have flashed
Clean it
up
up.
to Jerry Jones.
Yeah.
Skeletor.
These cameras, they got to get reactions from everything except, there's a live play going on, and we're not seeing it on the home viewers. Didn't get it live.
Mike?
Wish I'd gone first because I'm not going to bring that much fervor to mine this week. As you know, if you live in our area of Charlottetown here, we've had a lot of rain. And don't worry, Chris, I'm not going after your weather guys. I played that one out already. Yeah, no, we've had a lot of rain, right? And I've been having to drive around a lot this week. It's been a busy week, so I've had my wipers on, right? So the type of rain we've had is it's like hard rain and then lighter and then harder and lighter. So what do? We have the intermittent wipers, right? There needs to be 4 times as many settings on intermittent wiper. It can't be perfect. And if you find it, like if you get the sweet spot where there's just enough water and then it goes and then it comes back and just enough water, if you find that it lasts for 3 wipes max before it, I'm like, I'm going to wreck the car. I'm constantly like, and then, God forbid you doze off for a second or not paying attention, and all of a sudden he goes, you're like, the hell, what happened? I had that on the lowest thing. Sometimes
Nails on a chalkboard.
And in my truck anyway, like the lowest thing is like one wipe every 35 minutes, and the next one is one every 11 seconds. It's like there should be a couple in the middle there. I don't know. I can never find just a perfect spot for any extended amount of time. And I think, I know there was a movie about the guy who invented intermittent wipers, right, a while back, which sounds like the lamest idea for a movie in my mind. But so I should be able to do some research, find out who invented that, and then go back and say, look, great idea. We just need more settings. And don't we have enough technology where somehow we can say, like, okay, here's the amount of rain hitting the windshield and the wiper. Like, so maybe I'll invent that.
All right, so I have that on my car. My car has the auto sensing, and it does it. The problem is, like, it does that, but if it's like just sprinkling, like it does it like it's pouring. So all of a sudden it's sprinkling. You're like,
It's leaving 3-inch dig marks on your windshield as it goes across.
And then when it actually does start pouring, it's doing it like once every 3 seconds. So I'm having to speed dial it anyway. So I'm like, put it on the highest setting. So
I don't think we're all the way there with intermittent wiper technology.
No, that's awesome. I wouldn't mind having that on my my DVR remote control. Like, instead, like there's the rewind and forward, obviously, and there's different speeds for that. But then there's also just the little back button on, like on my spec, and it goes back like 15 seconds. And sometimes I only want to go back maybe 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And there's only that one setting. It goes back like 15. So I literally and even though it's only like 10 seconds, I still got to kind of wait there and be like, all right, you got to wait. And like, I want to have like a little setting. How about having that little back button where like, no, I just want the 5-second one rather than the 15-second.
Yeah.
I know this is like the most ridiculous kind of request, but kind of similar to your intermittent wipers things. Like, can we improve the setting on there where allow me to choose how much time to go back?
Right. I mean, that seems like that's totally easy to do, right? I mean, because I'm with you. I know it goes back 15 seconds. And for some reason, if you see something and it happens and it takes 5 seconds, so you're like, oh, I want to see that again. And you hit the back button. Why is that 10 seconds seem like 45 minutes? It's like, I got to sit through this shit again. I just saw this. It's 10 seconds, but for some reason, it seems like an eternity.
And it doesn't matter if it's a game or a movie, no matter what it is. You just want to see something real quick. Like, oh, I want to see that. What did he say right there? And you go back, or maybe you hit it like, oh God, I got to sit there. And then if you try to forward it, then you go past the point that you wanted to see it. It's like, fuck.
You just end up rewinding it like a half hour and hitting play again. I fuck it.
I know NBC has done this on some of their shows, but before they go to a commercial, a lot of times they'll be like, we're back in 1 minute. That is perfect for me because I just do 2 buttons of the 30-second forward and it's back in 1 minute. It basically times it perfectly. A regular commercial, like some are 2 minutes, some are like 4.5 minutes, some are 3 minutes 33 seconds. It's like, just standardize the shit, make it easy. Or before you go on commercial, this commercial break will be 3 minutes long.
Wouldn't that be nice?
I'll tell you, my dad was the master, especially watching football. Like, commercial, he'd go off and he'd be flipping around on other things, and I'd be like, the game's back on. He's like, not yet. And I'd be like, Dad, seriously, we're missing a play. And he would get back there literally as the ball's being snapped. It was so impressive.
What a skill.
It's a super
I want
skill,
Jim
really.
as my dad, because my dad is the absolute worst. Like he would be controlling him, and people don't realize this, but I think my dad, I've always felt like he's been more of a Jet fan than a Giant fan.
Oh.
So like if the Jets and Giants always seem to play at the same time on different channels in the New York area. So when he had control of the TV, he'd keep it on the Jet game a little bit longer. And I'd be like, you got to flip it over to the Jet. Well, wait a minute. Let's see what this play is. Meanwhile, I'm going back. For some reason, it just drives me nuts, like, to not see the snap. Like, you see, like, a running back, like, he's already 3 yards past the line. I'm like, what happened? I did miss the whole play, just that part. But it's like, yeah.
I remember. Oh, go ahead, Scott.
No,
I'm going to change the subject a little bit.
And I'm actually convinced that my dad used to do it on purpose just to tweak me, because he'd be like,
course.
well, let's see this. And I'd be like Andrew Siciliano, Dad, it's a punt. Let's move off of it. Come on.
Come on. We don't watch punts here. Come on. I remember that like I guarantee you this is when we got our first remote control TV. So it was the Syracuse final against Indiana, the Key Smart jumper game, right? So
yeah.
we're watching that game, and like I didn't care. I wasn't a Syracuse fan, but I was in the room. I'm watching the game, but I'm probably reading homework or something. And my dad is watching just intent, and my sister's wanting to watch something else. So my dad's like, "It's almost over. It's almost over." So he's like, "Come on, defense. Come on, defense." And then Smart hits that jumper. Well, my sister goes over and turns the channel on the TV like as the ball's going through the hoop. And she's like, "Game over." And he didn't have a remote. Like he had to get up and run around the coffee table. And by the time he got it back to the station, like Indiana's celebrating, Syracuse got down and got a shot off after that thing. So yeah, that was, I think, like 2 weekends later after that, we had a TV with remote control.
If Ronnie Cycli or Derek Coleman can make a fucking free throw.
Ronnie Cycli.
That still bothers me to this day. So my pet peeve is, and this is something we talked about before we started watching the Giant game last week. So the pregame was all about Dallas. If you guys watched the pregame last week,
yeah.
and not about Dallas, how if they were going to beat Houston, it was about how much the margin of victory would be.
Oh yeah.
And is Dallas the juggernaut now? Is Dallas the team to beat? Well, Dallas came within inches of losing that game to Texas, and probably should have. So the immediacy effect takes place. So this week, it's like, well, everyone's re-anointing the Eagles as being the best team in the league, and now the Cowboys are dropped a few notches. But now there's a new team that's popped up, and this is the team to watch out for from everyone. It's the Lions. So you got to watch out for the Lions because the Lions are revving up, and they're hot on everyone's tail. I don't know how many wins the Lions have right now. I think it's 5. Might be
6 and 7. I happen to have the standings up here. 6 and 7.
They're 6 and 7. You'd think that the Lions are actually like the third place or they're the first wild card or something. The way people are talking.
Yeah, they might be by the time it's all said and done.
They might be, but then again,
yeah.
Dallas might have beaten Houston by 30 if you listen to the pregame shows beforehand. It's a whole immediacy effect. We were laughing about it even before the Giant game started last week. We're like, it was like watching Dallas Central. Like Michael Irvin's like, well, what's the most impressive part of the Cowboys this year, the offense or the defense? And they're trying to make a case that the offense is the most impressive part. Yeah. Come on.
No, Dallas is the Democratic Party of the NFL. They have their own propaganda wing within the media. It's unbelievable. And but you guys are right. It's the immediacy thing is funny because last week, right up until they actually had to play a freaking game, all the attention had shifted to Dallas. All the attention. If you watch those pregame shows, it was Dallas mania on the pregame. Yeah. It'd be interesting to see where they shift this week. It looks like maybe they're going to the Lions, according to Scott. I usually don't watch a bunch of sports media when the Giants get their asses kicked. So
I know.
I haven't paid much attention, but yeah. Now you say the Lions have 6 wins. The Giants have 7. The Lions kicked the crap out of the Giants. Are we not talking about them as a potential harmful to our playoff chances? Where are they lurking around?
Well, again, they have to win 2 because we have a tie there. So it's that tie actually comes into play.
7 losses. Yeah.
The tie. Oh, that's right. We have 7.5 wins. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So right now the Lions percentage of making the playoffs is 20%. If the Giants beat the Redskins, it goes to 21%. But if the Redskins beat the Giants, it's like 20%. It's like, so this game really doesn't matter to the Lions.
The Lions have winnable games. Now 3 of them, 4 games left. 3 of them are on the road, but those road games are the Jets, the Panthers, and the Packers, and they're home to the Bears. So they got some winnable games. The Lions, they're definitely got in the hunt, right? We love the Lions.
The Lions could end up in that 9-win window.
What would be nice is if Seattle loses. Yeah, they could. It would be nice if Seattle loses on Thursday and at least takes them down a notch before we play Washington.
Yeah, that would help. Need the 49ers. Yeah.
So speaking of Washington and our prospects for the rest of the year, we do have a question, and it comes from our resident Cowboy fan, Bry Peacock. but he says, will we win, meaning the Giants, will the Giants win more than one of the games remaining? And this is the part that tweaks us a little bit here, because I think he's way off base.
He always takes it another step too far.
And is Wink one and done with the Giants as a defensive coordinator? Now, he's not saying that as if he'll get poached by another team, but he's saying, is he one and done because the Giants are near the bottom in most categories on defense?
Do you want me to take that first?
You take
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. I have to answer with a caveat to the first question. Will we win 2 of our last 4 games? If we beat the Redskins, yes, we will win another one. Now, everyone who's a Giants fan knows, I was thinking this earlier, I didn't say it, but the Giants usually don't rise from the dead until they're actually dead. So wouldn't it be funny if they lose to the Redskins and then win out? That's that would be something very Eli and the Giants like to do. But yeah, we got to look at the next game in front of us. So my answer to that would be, if they lose to the Redskins, they're dead. They're dead emotionally. They're dead in the division. They're dead. They will fold down the stretch, and it will collapse like a house of cards. If they beat the Redskins, I think that's enough of a high to get them 1 win in those last 3. It crossed my fingers and hope. Yeah. Wink Martindale is an interesting question. I actually thought about this. I don't think he's one and done because the Giants are going to fire him. I think they like what he brought to the table. It's the injuries aren't his fault. The fact that the offense constantly puts him in shitty positions is not his fault. I still think he might be one and done because dude's an old man, and I don't know how many more of these campaigns he wants to go through. I would love to have him back. It's been exactly what I expected. It's frustrating to get burnt on those 3rd and 15s when there's not a penalty. That's awful frustrating. That's when I'd like a guy with a little bit hold back just a little bit there, but overall he's made it exciting to watch. We just got to figure out a way to get home. We blitz so often and don't get home. It just is infuriating. I've my whole life I've wanted the Giants to blitz this much, and now I'm like, stop blitzing. But in my heart, I like it.
Now, at the age we're at, I'm going to take just a little bit of umbrage with the fact that Wink is an old man. He's 59 years old, but he may be leaving because he has one chance, and probably one chance only, of being a head coach at that age. Yeah. So if he does get an offer, he probably leaves for that. I don't think he'll leave because he's fired. I think if we fire him, we're crazy. Wink. The defense has kept us in games. The defense has done a very good job. Our run defense has been suspect at times, but how much of that is having to compensate for the injuries and the other? We don't have a feasible linebacker on the roster, basically.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with it. I don't want to just echo you guys, but you answered it exactly how I was going to answer it. Where I think, Wink will come back. The Giants. There's certainly, I don't believe that there's any reason why they would fire him, but you just said it, Scott, and Mike, because we know Black Monday comes along, and every year, what's the average number of head coaches being fired? It's somewhere like 7 or 8, head coaching positions every year. So if if that's what he's pursuing and desires to be a head coach, then he would leave to go be a head coach. I don't think he would leave and go be a defensive coordinator somewhere else. I don't think that would be the case. But if a head coaching opportunity comes calling, we'll probably lose Wink for that. But it's so funny, Mike. You said the same thing. Where we've been begging for a team to blitz with dealing with Patrick Graham's defense, that game plan for years, and that was insufferable. And now we can't. It's like nobody misses blocking assignments against the Giants. Nobody misses, there's no missed assignments against this New York Giant team. It's absolutely, it's incredible. The running back picks up a blitz. There's nobody misses assignments. Nobody comes in. It's so rare for a Giant to just come, completely clean off the edge, or a stunt. Somebody's missing a block. I don't know. I just hope they don't stop blitzing, but. Yeah, well, and the other question, how many games? I don't know, Mike. You answered it perfectly. It's a cop-out kind of answer for me now to say the same thing. But if they beat Washington, then I think they get one more in there. But if they lose this game, they may lose out after that. The Giants could easily, I think, lose out. So it doesn't really quite answer the question. So It's all based on this weekend. It's all based on what they do in Washington Sunday. And talk about a save the season. This is a real, true save the season game. We haven't had one of these in a number of years.
We haven't had a game that mattered this much in the middle of December in years either.
Yeah.
No.
Even that year we were 6-10 or whatever, and we were looking for help from the Eagles. We really wasn't anything like this. We knew we'd be a laughing stock if we even got in. So it's like,
it's just funny how your schedule plays a role into how you feel. I think looking at the schedule again, I've said this several times throughout the year. I think if you go back in time and it's the night before week 1, and I come to you and say we're going to be 7-5-1 after 13 games. Or what, 7-6-1, whatever we are, and
7-5-1,
playing the Redskins for pretty much locking up the playoffs in our 14th game. I think we'd all bought in for that, thinking what we had coming in. And it's just funny how the wins at the beginning and the losses in the middle group together give you a whole different feel. If we had gone win-win, loss, win-win-win, loss throughout this year, and we end up here at 7-5-1 at this point, we're probably not as doom and gloom as we are right now. It's just this. Yeah. It's the Giants just get on these fucking schneids and they can't get off. And I said it before the last Washington game, and it didn't come to fruition, although it almost did. It was a tie. But it's historically, even going back to the 80s, when the Giants have been in one of these messes, here comes the Redskins to bail them out of it. The Redskins have been the team that the Giants get right on, even when the Redskins are good and the Giants are good. They just has found a way to get after this team, and that's pretty much held up, outside of some middle years in there. I remember Norv Turner gave us a beating for a couple of years in a row there, but overall, Washington's kind of historically been our divisional get right team. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm not changing my score prediction.
I want the ball first. We haven't had the ball first. I mean, I want the Redskins to have the ball first. Right. When's the last time we've gotten the ball to start the second half in this schneid? It feels like it's been like 5 weeks ago.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good call.
It is. This entire losing streak seems like you're right, Scott, that we haven't scored first, and we have had the ball first, and we're not scoring first. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's a deadly combination. If you get that ball first, you better score with it.
You better score. Yeah.
Or you better score right before half.
You guys got anything else this week? All right, we're gonna do a save the season party on Sunday at Mulligan's. We hit us up on Twitter at @angry_3. I want more questions than that from our resident Cowboy fan. We want some giant centric questions. So reach out to us. Hit us up for questions. We will answer them. We're looking forward to the game on Sunday, and this really is our season, boys. So when it's our season, we gotta bring it. And it doesn't matter if we're on a losing streak and the Washington's on a winning streak. We need to just get it done.
Yeah, I know.
This is huge.
It's I said before we came on, I don't know if you're on yet, Scott. I was telling Chris, I said, there better not be someone in that bar cheering if the Redskins score. I am bringing the heat. I am.
Unlike last game we were there, the Redskins game, where someone did cheer when the Redskins scored.
Yeah.
Mike shut that down quickly.
I gave him the business.
That was awesome. Shut your ass.
Yeah. That's exactly what he said. Shut your ass.
Shut your ass.
And like that in certain bars that could have like just rolled out into the street with like fist fights. The guy's like, oh, okay, sorry. Yeah. I have him on fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the bartender comes over. She goes, as soon as he said it, I said, that's going to make Mike mad.
All right, we are the Three Angry Giant Fans. Your host, Scott, Giant, Mike, and Cardone. Have a good week, and we hope to have even a better week and a celebration next Wednesday.
Forgot to do those.